Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC Vegas 45 is this Saturday. The main event is a heavyweight fight between Derrick Lewis and Chris Daukaus, and this video is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. And this is going to be the last UFC fight of the year. I don't think the UFC returns till I believe it's January 15th, which will be Giga Chikadze versus Calvin Kattar. So I don't know what we're going to do for a whole month with no UFC fights on Saturday, but at least we get a relatively fan-friendly matchup to end the year between Derrick Lewis and Chris Daukaus. So you look at the tail of the tape, Derrick Lewis is currently ranked number 3, while Daukaus is ranked number 7. Derrick Lewis is 36, while Daukaus is 32. Lewis is 6'3", and so is Daukaus. And Lewis has a 79-inch reach, while Daukaus has a 76-inch reach. So a little bit of a reach advantage for Derrick Lewis, and Chris Daukaus is the much younger fighter, 32 years old versus 36 years old. So you look at Chris Daukaus, and what I could not believe, I knew this in the back of my mind, but when I was researching for this fight and doing this prediction video, I could not believe it. He's only been in the UFC since August of 2020. He made his UFC debut at UFC 252. That's DC versus Stipe Miocic 3, I believe. And it's just crazy. It was against Parker Porter. He got a TKO, and all 4 of his UFC fights have ended in KO or TKO. But again, this is not the greatest resume. You guys know I always talk about resumes. And I mean, his last fight against Shamil Abdurakhimov is probably his best win, and we'll talk about that in a second. But other than that, the resume is just, it leaves a lot to be desired. But I can't really hold it against him because I believe the UFC heavyweight division is the worst men's division in all of the UFC. Not a lot of great talent there. It's starting to kind of make it come up a little bit with Tom Aspinall and maybe Jones making his debut, and you have Cyril Gane, in the last few years make his way up, and you got Francis Ngannou as champion. But I mean, this division still leaves a lot to be desired, and the opponents haven't been the best. In his last fight at UFC 266, which is September this year, which got rescheduled like 80 times. I think it was scheduled twice in July, and then finally it happened at UFC 266 in September. And, for the most part, he dominated this fight. He was caught with some strikes, was kind of charging in a little bit, and Shamil was kind of catching him with like hooks and stuff like that. But he drops him badly at the end of the first round, and he gets saved by the bell. And Mark Smith, I believe, was the referee in this fight. I rewatched this fight in preparation to do this video, and Mark Smith was just terrible in this fight. He could have been stopped multiple times. I think he could have been stopped right at the end of the first round, but it wasn't a real bad stoppage. But definitely in the second round, he hurt him badly, was following up, and Mark Smith just let it go on and on and on and on. And this was a fight that basically he stopped him twice. I know we've seen, I think it was Donald Cerrone versus Jim Miller, where he stopped him twice within a fight, but because of some weird stuff, it kept going. But it's just crazy that Shamil is the best guy on his record, and he's fighting the number 3 heavyweight. But Derrick Lewis, you look at Derrick Lewis, and he's had a lot of success within the UFC. He's coming off a undeserved interim title shot at UFC 265 August of this year. And this fight really means a lot for Derrick Lewis. I mean, if he wants to stay relevant, he has to beat a guy in Chris Daukaus. Otherwise, Derrick Lewis, for all intents and purposes, is done. He'll lose relevancy, and it's just crazy. One fight off a title fight, that if he loses to Chris Daukaus, I just don't know where he goes, honestly. In his last fight against Cyril Gane, where he got that undeserved interim title shot, Francis Ngannou said he wanted to fight in September. The UFC had a deal with the Toyota Center in Houston. They wanted Derrick Lewis on that card. Francis Ngannou said, I can't fight till September. So they decided to make an interim title fight. It wasn't the biggest deal, but I thought it was kind of weird considering Francis Ngannou had just won the belt a couple months before. But honestly, I didn't really think it hurt anything, especially with a Cyril Gane win, because that's the matchup a lot of people were clamoring for. And I did a prediction video for this fight. You guys can go check it out on the channel if you don't believe me. But I knew exactly what was going to happen in this fight. Cyril Gane is just too technical, too well-rounded, too light on his feet. And he just went out there and outclassed Derrick Lewis. And in this fight, he chopped Derrick Lewis's legs badly. Derrick Lewis essentially really landed no strikes within this fight. And also, I know a lot of people don't like to say this stuff about fighters, and I don't really say it derogatory, but Derrick Lewis quit in this fight. He basically got finished off a jab, and I know he absorbed quite a bit of damage leading up to that point, but there was a stiff jab from Ciryl Gane. Derrick Lewis just covered up and just went to the ground and just accepted being ground and pound. Big Dan Miragliotta screamed over and over and over again, Derrick, you got to do something. Derrick, you got to do something. He just didn't move. I know, there was some type of, he was squinting, but the jab hit him right in the eye. But still, he was just done in that fight. He was swinging at nothing but air. He was having his leg chopped brutally by Ciryl Gane. He was getting tired. It was late in the third round, and he just had nothing to offer for Ciryl Gane. So now he gets a bounce-back fight, and I think this is a winnable matchup in Chris Daukaus. I'm not saying I'm picking him just yet. I'm going to get to my prediction in a minute. But at least this is a winnable fight. Chris Daukaus is no Ciryl Gane. You look at the fights before that, Derrick Lewis beat Curtis Blaydes via second round KO. I actually picked against Derrick Lewis in this fight, and Derrick Lewis was losing the majority of this fight against Curtis Blaydes, and Curtis Blaydes gets caught with a massive uppercut and just absolutely slept by Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis has some ungodly power. The only person that even comes close to having the power in the hands that Derrick Lewis has is Francis Ngannou. Before that, Alexei Oleinik, he TKO'd him. I believe it was in the second round. And he was actually in trouble in this fight. And Alexei Oleinik, in my opinion, I know he's been around forever, but there's no reason, any elite level heavyweight should be losing to Alexei Oleinik. And that's what's so weird about Derrick Lewis. Is he's like the worst, best fighter ever. It's so weird trying to describe him. He defies all MMA logic. I thought for sure he was going to lose to Curtis Blaydes, but he has that ungodly nuclear power. In the Alexei Oleinik fight, comes back and win in the second round. TKOs him, was in trouble in the first. Oleinik was looking for that Ezekiel choke. Before that, he got a unanimous decision against Ilir Latifi at UFC 247. Close fight. Some people thought Latifi won. Before that, Bagoy Ivanov. It was a split decision win at UFC 244, which I was actually there for live. I scored it for Ivanov. I don't think Derrick Lewis should have won that fight. I don't know why he did. He did very little. He was taken down, I think, all 3 rounds and controlled for a majority of those rounds, if I'm remembering correctly. Before that was a TKO loss to Junior Dos Santos, who's no longer in the UFC. Before that, and this is crazy, Derrick Lewis has had 2 title fights. Before that was kind of a short notice title fight against DC where he was choked out. And before that, and this is the last fight really I'm going to talk about for Derrick Lewis, is when he comes back in the third round against Alexander Volkov after being outclassed for 2 3/4 of a third round. And he absolutely KOs Volkov in the last few seconds of the third round to win. And that was on UFC 229, the McGregor-Khabib card. And that's when Derrick Lewis really blew up and people really knew Derrick Lewis's name. And actually, I think I've told this story on a live stream or 2 before. Derrick Lewis, when he first came into the UFC, I thought he had very promising skills. And I told one of my buddies, to check him out. I thought he could be promising. And then his very next fight, he got slept by Matt Mitrione. So it was just crazy. I had high hopes for Derrick Lewis. I guess, he has achieved a lot within the heavyweight division. But I've really flipped back and forth. As far as my prediction goes, I've really flipped back and forth. Derrick Lewis, again, is the worst, best fighter in the heavyweight division. It's so strange. He's super fast, has ungodly power. And people don't realize, not only does he have fast hands, he has super lightning fast kicks, and the way he throws head kicks, they get there so fast. He throws switch kicks. While Chris Daukaus, I feel like he's decently well-rounded, at least for the heavyweight division. And I feel like a lot of people might be picking Daukaus in this fight, and I've thought about picking Daukaus in this fight, and I'm still thinking about it. But I'm going to go Derrick Lewis, first round KO. I just think Chris Daukaus, he fought Shamil, who's much slower than Derrick Lewis, and he got clipped quite a few times by Shamil in that fight. And I just can't see in a fight where Derrick Lewis has that ungodly nuclear power, how he does not find Chris Daukaus' chin and just put him to sleep. I think a path to victory for Daukaus. We don't know how Daukaus' stamina is because he's finished all his fights. He's never even gone 3 rounds, let alone 5 rounds, and this is a 5-round fight. But I think Daukaus' path to victory is move a bit, feint quite a bit, let Derrick Lewis kind of get tired out, swinging at air. He gets tired. I mean, he still holds that power even late in the third round we've seen against Volkov. But just kind of, toy with him from the outside, try to kick the legs. Derrick Lewis is very heavy on that lead leg. And then look for the finish in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. I think that's the path to victory for Daukaus. But I just believe his striking just is not good enough. And I think, Derrick Lewis needs one punch to land on the chin of Chris Daukaus, and he's putting him to sleep. Other than that, honestly, and I know there's a lot of Derrick Lewis fans. I think probably Chris Daukaus is the overall better fighter. I think he probably has better cardio. He has good power, obviously nowhere near the same amount as Derrick Lewis. He's kind of well-rounded, for at least for the heavyweight division. I feel weird saying that, but I feel like the heavyweight division is held to a different standard. He has all finishes, so he has that killer instinct. I think he should try to wait Derrick Lewis out, weather the early storm. We know what Derrick Lewis does. He likes to stand there and stand there and stand there and then blitz forward with explosive power. He almost has this is going to sound crazy, this comparison. I wonder who's going to comment, criticizing me for this. But Derrick Lewis almost fights like Lyoto Machida in a way. Obviously he doesn't have the same level of footwork, but he'll just wait and wait and wait and wait. And then when you start to pressure him, he'll try to explode on you. So I think Chris Daukaus really needs to feint, move in and out, be light on his feet, use his footwork similar to what Cyril Gane did, and then look to finish him in the later rounds. But I just think the striking isn't good enough. If Shamil Abdurakhimov can land on his chin, I think Derrick Lewis can find his chin as well. Derrick Lewis, super fast punches, nuclear power, good timing, and I just think he knocks him out in the first round. You guys will have to let me know your prediction. I think a lot of people are going to be split on this fight. Maybe I'm wrong. Are you picking Derrick Lewis? Or are you picking Chris Daukaus in this fight? Comment it down below. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.